Hey everybody, David from Flash by V Cycle Nut. This video is about my airbox lid. At the end of the video, first I'm going to go over the performance of it, show you some dyno runs. Then at the end of it, if you stick around, I'll show you how to install it. It's pretty easy. If you purchase the lid from me, you will get the new lid and 2 zip ties. The only tools you will need to install it is the Torx bit, the cutters for the zip ties that are on the bike, and then a 4mm Allen head. So before I get into the dyno runs, just want to talk about, I did a lot of road testing with the lid, and I am very happy and a little bit surprised to say that it runs better in all situations. I was worried about that some of the street habits, around town habits that I'm not super happy with, that would be exacerbated by the lid, but I'm happy to report they weren't. The sound is absolutely amazing from the intake. With it opened up, the intake noise is very, very, very good. Everybody that likes a single will really like it. Power is much more snappy, much more responsive, just improved everywhere and not worse anywhere. And wait till you see the dyno runs, especially with the Sprint filter. So remember, stick around if you want to see how easy the install is. So this is our original baseline that I got when the bike only had like 150 miles on it. So I didn't want to just stick with this and say this was the baseline. So I did a new baseline to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples. And you can see here is the new run, pretty similar to the old run. The runs with the stock lid were pretty inconsistent as far as what power shape of the curve I'd get, especially on top. It would have holes in different places. And you can see it's making a little bit more power off the bottom. I guess just from break-in miles and everything sealing better. But basically pretty similar to the stock run. And here's what we get when we keep the stock filter and we just change out to my airbox lid. And we gained almost a horsepower on top number, but you can see area under the curve is way better. Torque from 5,500 to 8,500 is way better, where we ride the bike the most. This is just huge improvements for a $75 investment. This is pretty crazy. And again, this is without tuning. So as I keep saying in all my videos, please go to the description, get the link to email Woolick, and email Woolick so that we can add the 698 to the ECUs that we're able to flash. This is just me playing limited by the stock fueling and stock mapping, which I'll show you where the air fuel is in a second. But if I could really get into this thing, all that area, I'm guessing above 8,500 where it flattens out, is mostly due to throttle restrictions. And if we could get in there and open it up, this thing would really, really perform. So let's take a look at the air fuel ratio. And you can see the air fuel ratio is absolutely no way worse. And anyways, in a lot of ways, it's a lot better, from 4,500 almost to $7,000. It's much closer to that 13.1 line that it's kind of where we, somewhere shoot for around. And then it just goes rich like it does with the stock stuff. So in no way is this harmful for the bike, and it just ran better everywhere. I should clarify that when I did my road testing, it was with the Sprint filter and the lid combined, which I'm going to show you now. And yeah, pretty awesome. So this shows the gains that we get just changing from the stock filter to the Sprint filter after replacing my lid. And again, it's just more power everywhere, man. It just we made 73 horsepower, and now we're 47.5 foot-pounds of torque, knocking on that 50 foot-pounds of torque door. And it's just better everywhere. So let's look at where we started from to now. Oops, I lied. Let's look at air fuel ratio first. And we can still see now there's even more of a section that the air fuel is where we want it to be. And in the end, it ends up piggly rich like it is stock. No worse than stock air fuel. So this is totally safe to do to your bike. And like I said, the bike runs better everywhere. The sound is amazing. This is a hell of an upgrade for a little bit over $150. And just to really hit home the air fuel ratio, you can see if I had to pick between these two air fuel ratios, which ones I'd pick. I'd pick the V-Cycle Nut lid, Sprint filter, and stock ECU over the stock lid, stock filter, and stock ECU all day long. So now finally, let's compare where we started with the stock lid, stock filter, stock ECU to the V-Cycle Nut lid, Sprint filter, and stock ECU. And yeah, wow. Almost two and a little bit number at peak, but area under the curve from 5,000 to 8,500 is just freaking killing it. Let's take a closer look at those numbers. But man, that is an absolute insane amount of gain for no tuning. And remember, if we email Woolick and get me access to this ECU, it will be even more. So let's look at the areas that we ride the most, basically between 5 and 8,500 RPMs. And if we look at the torque at 5,000 RPMs, you can see we gained 2.5 foot-pounds of torque, which is almost 10% at that little light or low RPM. And if we look at the torque specifically at 8,500 RPMs, you can see we gained 4.5 foot-pounds of torque, which is more than 10% torque. So basically from 5% to 8,500, we have 10% more torque across the board. How awesome is that? And if we look right there in the middle, we can see we gained 8 horsepower and 5.5 foot-pounds of torque. That's like 15% gains right there in the middle of everything. So you can see this is a crazy good mod, crazy good value. Thanks, guys, for watching. Hope everybody's as excited as I am. Remember, email Woolik. Stick around if you want to see the install video and how easy this is. So thanks, guys. All this stuff is available in my store. There's links in the description. And appreciate y'all. The first thing we have to do is remove the seat, and there's a 4mm Allen head here, and the same thing on the other side. You remove them, and then the seat lifts straight off. You'll now be looking at your stock airbox lid. We have a USB data port that we're going to remove from this lid and attach to the new lid. There'll be 4 zip ties right here that we cut so that we can get to the 4 bolts that hold it down. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, and there's actually was 1, 2, 3, 4 zip ties. So cut the zip ties and then remove the 4mm Allen bolts. With the 4 bolts removed, I'm going to take the lid off, flip it over so that I can get to these 3 T8 Torx bits, and you can see the stock looking Fram filter. We can just pull that out, and we're going to leave that bottom cage type thing in, and we're going to put the Sprint filter in, because I'm be shocked if you didn't get the Sprint filter after seeing the dyno results. I don't think the Sprint filter will do much of anything with the stock airbox lid, because the stock airbox is going to be the choke point. So new filter's already in. We're going to remove these 3 bolts, and then we're going to save at least 2 of them, because we're going to use these 2 to screw it to the new lid. So I have the new lid here, and you can see that that mounting point is rounded off just like this. So we're just going to put this on like that, flip it over, and put 2 of the screws back in, the Torx screws back in, to hold it on place to the new lid. Now that I have that attached to the new lid, I'm just going to lay the new lid in place, line up the holes, and put the 4 screws that hold the perimeter back in, hold the perimeter down back in. So you'll notice that it just sits over the edges of the filter and just holds it down. It'll have a little bit of bow to it, but it's just going to hold it down. That way works with stock filter, any filter that you may want to work. If you wanted to put a DNA filter in, it would work with that also. There's the lid bolted down into place. Now we'll just take the 2 supplied zip ties and re-zip tie this cable to the mounting block here, or not mounting block, but to the block to secure it. And there is the finished product. Took me 10 minutes even with making the video. We got this all zip tied into place like it came stock. You can see that the filter's holding the lid's holding the filter down nice and all along the edges, so it'll seal really good. We got some nice radius edges, so the flow is nice and smooth. Our data port is in place, and I'm just ready to put the seat back on those 2 bolts, and we are completely done. So thanks, guys, for watching. Never in the history of Ducati motorcycles has a little bit more than $150 gotten you so much. So, man, oh, and remember, please, 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 if you're into the 698, this is with no tuning. If I could get to tuning these things, these gains will be even more substantial. So please email Woolik. Email Woolik and ask them to add the 698 to their list of bikes that they are able to flash. Thanks, guys. Take care.